Haribol. Namaste. My name is Janapati Das, and welcome tonight to the Yoga Wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is translated and purported upon by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my spiritual grandfather. So I'd like to take this opportunity to, first of all, offer my respects to you. Thank you for coming tonight and listening to the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. And I'd like to also take this opportunity to offer my most humble obeisances unto my spiritual teacher, Jagat Guru, Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, who taught me everything about yoga wisdom, the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, and the wisdom of kirtan meditation. So we are going to start off tonight's class with the hearing and repeating of Krishna's names, the repeating of mantras. Mantra, of course, comes from two Sanskrit words, man, which means the mind, and tra, which means to draw away or to lift above. And the mantra is a spiritual sound vibration that once sung or heard or brought within the near vicinity of the vibration of these spiritual vibrations, the names of God, benefit the actual living entity being the spirit soul, the jivatma within the body, that actually helps us understand our true identity. Not just our true identity, but what our relationship is with the Supreme. This is the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we are going to get into a little bit of the philosophy tonight, but that is the sum bonum of this philosophy, is the reinstatement of our relationship with Krishna. And this is the prime benediction as taught by the incarnation, or the arrival of the Lord in this age, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who inaugurated the hearing and repeating of these sacred mantras. So I most humbly offer my obeisances to my spiritual master, who taught me about this process and the process of the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita as it is in Bhakti Yoga. So please join along. I'm going to sing a couple mantras, one to praise my spiritual teacher, of whose appearance day is coming up soon, and to offer respects to Lord Chaitanya and his associates. Haribol, Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radhakrishna Prastayate. I was born in the darkness, ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in tonight and giving me the opportunity to attempt to be pleasing to my spiritual teacher and share the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita with you tonight. We are going to, as always, read part of the Bhagavad Gita, and I always say that it's so it's actually very little time to really have 1 hour or 45 minutes and to get to really touch the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. But we take a little bit of what we have, a little part every day, and we meditate upon it, and we see the vastness, the wonderful, the endless ocean of mercy that comes from the Bhagavad Gita, and the understanding and the mercy of our spiritual teacher who imparted this wisdom upon us. Tonight, what I'm going to do is read from chapter 7, and I'm just going to read like I did last month. I read all of chapter 5, but I'm going to read into chapter 7, the verses first of all, and then we'll get into a little bit of the because you really it's a very vast subject actually, and we can only touch upon the essence, but that's enough. That's enough even for tonight. Just even to talk about it. It's wonderful. So thank you. So chapter 7 is called The Knowledge of the Absolute, and I'll just read through some of these verses. If you have this Bhagavad Gita as it is, you can follow along if you like. Now hear, O son, this is verse 1, Krishna telling Arjuna, O son of Prita, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and nominal, I think that's how that's pronounced, by knowing which there shall remain nothing further to be known. Verse 3, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Text 4, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, altogether these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Text 5. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mine, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Text 6. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. Text 7. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Excuse me. Text 8. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Text 10. O son of Prita, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Text 11. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of the Bharats, Arjuna. All states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material nature. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Text 15. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Text 16, O best among the Bharats, Arjuna, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Text 17, of these the wise one, who is in full knowledge and union with me through pure devotional service, is the best, for I am dear to him, and he is dear to me. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider verily to dwell in me. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he attains me. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. I am in everyone's heart as the supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship the demigods, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to some particular deity. Endowed with such a faith, he seeks favors of a particular demigod and obtains his desires, but in actuality these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Unintelligent men who know me not think that I have assumed this form and personality due to their small knowledge. They do not know my higher nature, which is changeless and supreme. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. O Scion of Bharat, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives, and in this life whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental and fruitive activities. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can with steadfast mind understand and know me even at the time of death. So that's the full chapter 7. Wonderful, wonderful. And we are going to read some of these verses and some of the purports and talk about this chapter, the knowledge of the Absolute. And in the beginning of this chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna, right? Krishna is laying it out because he's gone over a lot of the philosophy of not being the body, not being the mind, of actually being a jivatma, spirit soul, and that the purpose of our life is to engage our work in the service of Krishna. But here he gets into a little bit more about explaining, I shall now declare unto you in this full knowledge, this knowledge, both phenomenal and nominal. That's like seen and unseen, right? Or spiritual and material energy. So right off the bat, we have this knowledge of the Absolute. And when we think about science comes from a Greek word that is theos, sion, which means to know, that's knowledge, or to understand, And but when we think about empirical science, which is the predominating material science of this age, even though they may admit that we don't know everything. They do that quite a bit, actually. They say we don't know everything, but we'll eventually learn everything. That is the goal, really. That is the goal. They are striving, whether consciously or unconsciously, to know to be the knowledge of the absolute. They want to know everything, right? But actually, they know very little. And Krishna is telling Arjuna, I want to declare to you about what's the bigger picture, right? What is the knowledge of the absolute, of seen and unseen? Because what we know about material science, there may be a lot of particulars that we know about how the universe works or whatever, but then it's like, okay, scientists have discovered or observed A, and then they've observed that A and B, the B and A and B affects C. But then what they do is they perfect their abilities to, it's kind of like my spiritual master would say, the externals of our sensibility. So we see, we hear, we touch, we taste, all these things, and then we have machines that make it so that we can see further, or we can hear more, either further out or further in. We can hear more. We can sense things a little bit more fine and more subtle. So they build these telescopes, right? There's the Webb, I think it's called the Webb telescope now. It used to be the Hubble telescope, and everybody was like, "Wow, the Hubble telescope!" And it takes all these really amazing pictures. But 20 years down the line, there's the Webb telescope, and they actually can take a picture further out. And maybe the pictures that they took before are a little more. And what do they find? They find that, okay, we discovered originally that A, and we said, well, A and B, and A and B together does C. But then we take this picture, and A, B, and C don't make any sense. They're like, they can't figure it out. So they can't even figure out really the material world around them. And they have no knowledge of what's beyond all these things. And the knowledge of the absolute truth, and what Krishna is telling Arjuna, is that I'm going to tell you about what is seen and unseen from the material and the spiritual perspective. And that's ultimately what is being laid out here. When we get to chapter 7, text 4, Krishna talks about the material elements of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, and then some more subtle mind, intelligence, and false ego that Bhaktivedanta actually explains in here, that scientists are, they're aware of earth, they're aware of fire and water, and they're even aware of ether, when ether is a sort of space that allows for sound waves and whatnot to be carried from one space to another, right? The ether, the space, right? But they don't really know much about mind. They think, well, the mind is a product of the brain, but actually but what's taught in the Vedic system is the mind is actually a subtle energy. The mind is a subtle energy, the intelligence is a subtle energy, and the ahankar, or the false ego, or the false concept that I am this body, I am this mind, that this is who I am, whatever that goes along with that designation, that Arjuna had initially the problem with from the very get-go. He was basically laying out all these reasons why he shouldn't be fighting, and they all had to do with the fact that I am Arjuna, these are my countrymen, or my brothers, or my teachers. And Krishna was like, that's not true. You're actually laying out everything that the karma kanda, the Vedas, the Vedic system that's laid out for people to, the embodied living entity to live out in a regulated life in the material world in a way that would help elevate them back towards Krishna. And so this is the conclusion, the knowledge of the absolute truth that is said later, that we read here, of all that is material and all that is spiritual in the world, know that for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. So basically he's saying, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am the source of all things spiritual and material. I am the goal, right? You know, as he says here later, I am the symbol Om. I am the taste of water. He's giving all these things that we can relate to in the material world. They're all coming from Krishna. They're all Krishna's energies. And this is the point, is that, you know, the religious systems, whatever they might be, whether they're in a more animistic sort of like taboo situation of like, don't do this and don't do that, or, you know, you follow these rules and regulations, or you're Hebrewic Jewish from Moses' time, where you had a very certain kind of consciousness that you needed some regulation to be able to not be completely animalistic, to do certain kinds of rules and rituals and whatnot, all the way up to Bhakti Yoga, which is the ultimate pinnacle. This whole system, all this knowledge is ultimately leading to Krishna, that Krishna is coming to know Krishna, and that is the epitome of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, is Krishna is the goal. Krishna is Krishna, and the living entity needs to be engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness, or doing things for Krishna. And this is what Krishna was saying. Just offer this fighting, this killing ability that you have in my service without attachment to it. And this will be your flower that Krishna explained to Arjuna also in the Bhagavad Gita. Just offering, offer me a fruit, a flower, a leaf, and I will, in love and devotion, and I will accept it. Some people have fruits and flowers that they're offering in love. Some people have abilities. Some people have money. Some people have, like Arjuna, he has abilities to be a great warrior. You know, I'm not a military person. I'm a teacher, so I offer my teaching abilities to Krishna. So this is the point that is being brought up here, and he lays out, you know, the knowledge of the things that are seen: earth, water, fire, air, and some of the things that are maybe more subtly seen, like we can be aware of the mind and the things that kind of come in and out of the mind. We may not even really understand exactly what it is, or we may say things like, oh, I just changed my mind, or, you know, my mind is bothering me. But we don't really know what that means. But Krishna explains it here that the mind is a more subtle energy. The mind is restless and turbulent, and it's very difficult to control, but can be controlled through the service to Krishna, through the utilizing of the mind in Krishna's service. The intelligence, we should have intelligence, right? The intelligence, if the intelligence is completely overrun by the mind wanting to do this and do that and do whatever it wants to do and enjoy the senses for their own pleasure, the intelligence will follow along, and they'll be like, well, I do want to be happy, so maybe I will just, do those things that, even though my spiritual teacher tells me that's not going to make you happy because you're not your mind. But I do want to be happy, and I think it makes sense. So that's why my spiritual great grandfather Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would always say that in the morning you should beat your mind with the shoe 100 times, and at nighttime too you beat it as well, because the mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Right? It can tell you, it can dictate to you, oh, you should do it this way, you should do it that way, you should do it this way. Even though Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, do it this way, do it for me. you're thinking, well, if I do it for Krishna or I do it for my spiritual master, what about me? Well, maybe I won't be happy. But it's a completely bonkers situation, because we're already not happy trying to do these things for lifetime after lifetime, and the spiritual master is saying, no, this is not the right way to go. You've been doing this for lifetime after lifetime and being completely miserable, but somehow or another you think it's going to be different this time. It's a very amazing thing of how powerful material energy is. And this, Krishna explains later also the whole creation of the elements that material science does not really even have any understanding about. The modes of material nature, the goodness and passion and ignorance, and how tightly that affects the living entity present in the body that they're in. They may be in a body that's very heavily in the mode of ignorance, like a tree or a slug or whatnot, or they might be in a body that's more mode of passion, like a lion or whatnot, and they're completely unaware and completely bewildered by that sort of energy. So Krishna explains this: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. This ahankara, this is actually a subtle energy of thinking, no, this is me. I am 55, white, male, American, teacher, straight, whatever that might be, all having to do with the designation of the body. I'm very happy today. What does that mean, really? Right? I'm, or my wife, or my dog, or my cat, or that's my child. What does that mean, really? That all has to do with the designation of the body. This has to do with the false ego. This is me, this is my family, this is my country, this is my identity. Whatever it might be, it's all completely false ego. And so this is a material energy that is affecting the living entity present within the material world. So Krishna explains that those five gross and 3 subtle, are the material energies. And then he goes on to say, besides this inferior nature, the nature that is inferior. So not only are you bewildered by this thing, but you don't even understand that, Krishna tells Arjuna the same kind of thing. You don't understand. This is not you. Those people out on the living entities, they're all my eternal servants in bodies. They're all thinking that I'm this warrior, or I'm that warrior, I'm that teacher, I'm this person, and I'm, doing this and doing that. That's an inferior nature. And included in that is the ahankara, this false ego. That's an inferior nature. So what is the superior energy? The superior energy is the living entity, the jivatma, who is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He has a spiritual form of eternal bliss and knowledge, but in the conditioned state of the material body, it's none of those things. It's not a spirit. It's not eternal. Definitely not. I mean, Krishna's body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He's not affected by the modes of nature or the material energy. All these things are emanating from him. They all serve their purpose. They all serve a reason. But they do not affect him like they affect the living entities. We're marginal jivatma, we're marginal energy, so we can be influenced by spiritual or material. But in this case, the living entity is not in a body that is not eternal. It's not spiritual. It has very little knowledge, just shown by the fact that we have no idea. We're completely illusioned and thinking we're going about our day-to-day life in a completely elusive state of thinking, this is me, this is my identity, this is my age, this is my occupation, this is my relationship with the people around me, and, or I'm American, those people are Russian, and we're enemies. It's like completely elusive. And so it says here that the living entities are struggling with material nature. That summarizes it. And are sustaining the universe. So the fact that this material world is active because of the presence of the Jivatma, which is non-different in quality than the Supreme Lord. Not quantity, of course. We are small, infinite, as part in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we are infinite. We have the same quality, but not the same quantity. So we are not the Supreme Lord. So, going on, we'll read a little bit of the purport here. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in the world, know for certain that I am, this is Krishna telling Arjuna, I am both the origin and dissolution. So the creation and destruction is all emanating from me for different purposes. I am the source. Everything in the Sri Upanishad, the first verse, it says, everything animate and inanimate within this material world is owned and controlled by Krishna, by the Supreme Lord. And it's not, we all, I'm paraphrasing of course, but the living entity is given a certain allotment because of their karmic situation in this material world. And they should understand what is their due, of course, and not strive to over-endeavor over-endeavor for material sense gratification, material things. If these are just things that are major distraction from understanding our self-realization of who we are and what our purpose is. And that is the Bhagavad Gita. That is the Song of God. The Song of God is a reminder for the living entity of who we really are. It's a call back home. Come home. Come home. This is not your home. This is not, you've been here or gone a long time. Come home. You are not this material energy. You will not find it. It's temporary. It's elusive in the fact that it's temporary, and that it will never, ever completely satisfy the Jivatma, the you. So let's read a little bit of the purport here. Yeah, I mean, I'll read that in the next verse because it says, O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. So this dumb kind of, like mental speculation of atheists. They're often like, well, if God created the earth, or God is the creator, who created God? It's like, no, nobody created God. God exists. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. See, that's just completely material, mental understanding of trying to understand. The only way, and this is really, if you have an opportunity to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, or more consolidated into the Krishna book by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, there is a chapter entitled The Prayers by the Personified Vedas. And this is actually elaborated in a question that's asked by a great saintly king to a great sage. The saintly king's name is King Parikshit. And he asks the sage Shukadev Goswami this very question about if the material mind and the senses are limited within this material world, how can it reach transcendence? And this is understood by the fact that Vedic knowledge is disseminated through a disciplic lineage of perfect teachers to perfect students. And every time you read these things, including this story of Krishna and Arjuna, in this case it was the Supreme Lord who was acting as spiritual master to Arjuna, who is a very qualified saintly person, mind you, but was put into an illusion for our sake, that you cannot understand the absolute truth but for the grace of the spiritual master in Krishna, And so in this case, Krishna was Krishna, but he was also acting as a spiritual master, and Arjuna was humbly receiving that. So in the sense of the Vedas, the prayers by the personified Vedas, the same kind of thing, that the understanding comes by the mercy, only by the mercy of the spiritual master in Krishna. So I'm going to read actually some of these things, but this is a wonderful analogy that there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So so wonderful that this material world is so perfectly arranged. The planets orbit perfectly. That, you know, we're here on an Earth where the environment is like perfect. I mean, compared to a lot of places, you have living entities in the forms of humans who are able to, you know, amazing, like what our bodies can do. That it keeps us in this body for a certain amount of time of life. It has a whole apparatus. Everything is so complex. But, you know, when you have science, they're like, they don't want to include the idea of a spiritual energy, even though their own science points to it. They don't want to say that there can be something that all this stuff emanates from. They just say, oh, somehow or another, all the material energy came into an infinite space, and then it blew up, and all the things kind of came together, and they, you know, there were planes, and all this stuff over billions of years all came together. You know, and it sounds kind of childish when you really think about it, but they don't want to put that there was an actual, because all they can think about is that, well, I can't really do that myself, and I don't know anybody who can do that then, you know, you know, I know some pretty powerful men, but nobody can create a universe. This sort of material concept that they try to, like, put their Lego pieces into a tower in their mind. They can't figure it out. And they won't. They won't figure it out, because that's why it says later that foolish men, here, I'm actually find that quote. It says that those miscreants who are grossly foolish lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. The illusion that I am Krishna. That's why we're all here. And who partake of the atheistic nature of demons do not surrender to me. They don't want to surrender to God, so God provides them with all the information to deny their existence. And they're like, I don't see God. They don't really even have the eyes to see God, because they don't want to see God. They don't want to. The devotee of Krishna surrenders unto the Krishna, as Arjuna did. He told Arjuna, just abandon all these varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I will give you all protection. Do not fear. He gives them that option, and Arjuna does. Arjuna surrenders to him and is able to do what he's able to do, because he's back in his normal relationship with Krishna. And that is the great analogy for all of us, that we can abandon all the varieties of religion, abandon our own misconceptions and our fallacies, you know, as Bhaktivedanta Swami would call it, the fallible soldiers in our life that we try to build up and create ourselves as emperor of the world. Just surrender those. Surrender to Krishna and trust in Krishna, because Krishna is the well-wisher of all living beings, and the spiritual master is his representative. And so we can and we should surrender our lives to Krishna and to the spiritual master, not in fear, but in love. That just like as a child or a cub of a lion would be picked up by the mother of the lion, so our spiritual master, so Krishna picks us up and carries us gently, you know. So this is very wonderful. I'm going to read this purport. Everything that exists, this is from text 6, right, of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. Everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. That's it. It's not, you know, you don't have to like, oh, you know, when I was saying at the beginning, you don't have to, how do we know, how are we going to figure out, if we manipulate all of our observations and our mathematical equations, and we would never, ever know the absolute truth that way. But that's what scientists go for. They just keep trying to manipulate matter in a way that they can try to know, and they can go way off track. It's kind of like, you know, if you're on a train track and then you take a wrong detour, and you're like, I'm going down the right way, but you just go further and further away from the truth. You just keep handing down your disciplic succession of false information. That, oh yeah, well, so-and-so wrote a paper, this scientist wrote a paper about this that was completely wrong, and he got it from so-and-so, who is a very supposedly materially knowledgeable person, and he was wrong. So they have a disciplic lineage of people handing down rocks instead of mangoes. You know, the spiritual masters in the disciplic lineage back to Krishna are handing down the mangoes in perfect condition. So you see the information as taught by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, handed down, and every spiritual master and the spiritual master of the lineage are handing down this mango, and the information is unchanged. The only thing that might be slightly different is the time and circumstances. You might be talking about using the analogy of horses in the 200, 300 years ago. Now you might be using cars or computers as an analogy for something. But the same information is still there. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. Spirit is not created by matter. There is absolutely no, even in the material science, there's absolutely zero proof that life comes from matter, and it actually is the other way around, because you could take all the building blocks, as Carl Sagan would say, you know, all these carbon, you know, things that he would say, I'm a collection of water molecules and oxygen molecules and all these things with a label of a name, Carl Sagan. It's like, well, no, because those chemicals are constantly changing and moving out of your body. So where does that go? You're still there. So they've done these tests so many times and they can't figure it out. They try to put all the chemicals together. It doesn't bring a block to life. You know, my spiritual teacher has this funny video where he takes a brick and he gets all the chemicals into a little syringe and tries to infuse. He says, I'm going to infuse life into this brick and it's going to come to life, but it's just water squirting everywhere and the brick's still. So he's like, you know, it's ridiculous to say that somehow spirit comes from matter. Matter comes from spirit. That's what's said here. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spirit is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then manhood, and because of that superior energy, spirit soul being present. So this is a really wonderful thing, and also that's laid out in these chapters of saying that beside all these inferior energies, there is a spiritual energy, and the spiritual energy maintains the universe. It maintains the universe. It not only maintains our body. We don't. The Jivatma is not only present as our body continually changes and grows and gets older around us. It's also present all over the universe in different living entities, in different kinds of atoms and whatnot that maintain the existence of this universe. If there were no living entities to come to the material world to try to play Krishna, there would be no need for a material universe. This is the point that's being said. So he says, a fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely the living entity, may by manipulation of material energy construct a skyscraper, factory, or city. So we're intelligent, like Krishna. We have intelligence. We can create things, but we don't create the elements that we construct things with. We can't create oxygen. We can't create chemicals. Those things are already existing eternally through and changing and moving through the material world. We eat an apple, it's got a certain amount of compositions of chemicals. It goes into our body. The body takes certain things from it. It expels other things. It expels the waste of the apple. The apple goes in. Other living entities eat it. They expel more waste. The waste of the chemicals that were in that apple originally have now gone through into the soil, maybe up into another plant, for all that matter. Or maybe it's scooped up and another living entity takes all those chemicals and makes a house out of it. So, you know, the body is constantly changing. every chemical, every molecule, 3 to 5 years, so that we go through our whole life with so many different kinds of bodies, 7, 8 different bodies, and we can tell from our pictures that, okay, this is me at 55, that's me at 15. It's not the same body. You can see the same composure and makeup, but that's not the same body. And this body is much older. It's got gray hair. It's got a few wrinkles and some weird things growing out of my face and stuff. But when I was 15, it was all smooth. I had nice brown hair. A little kid, cute kid. Missing teeth and stuff. It's like, oh God, what's coming next, right? So that's really important to note. The cause of the universe is the super soul, Krishna, the supreme creator of all the living individual souls and the original cause of all causes, as the Katha Upanishad confirms, Nitya Nityanam Chaitanash Chaitanam. So that is the knowledge of the absolute truth. That is the knowledge of the absolute Krishna. Krishna standing on Arjuna's chariot, in front of Arjuna, is the supreme Lord, the source of Arjuna, of the chariot, of all the energy that's on the battlefield, of all the living beings, of all the earth and the universe and the spaces. It's just wonderful. Even the stories in the Christian book, when Krishna has to open, is told to open his mouth to Mother Yasoda, and he opens his mouth and they see all kinds of living, everything, the cosmic manifestation inside the body, in the mouth of Krishna. Krishna is the source of all things, and Krishna is by surrendering to Krishna and surrendering to his representative, is the fulfillment of all desires, of all happiness, and the fulfillment of our satisfaction cannot come from the material elements that emanate from Krishna, but come from Krishna. So that's all for today. I think I would recommend you can just meditate more on this chapter 7. Like I said, it's just like a little piece of cake from this great banquet of the Vedic knowledge, and it's always a pleasure to spend time with you and share the Bhagavad Gita and talk about it. Feel free to make any comments in the comment below, and as always, a reminder that we do have a YouTube channel for Yoga Kirtan Hawaii. If you haven't subscribed, or if you know anyone who wants to subscribe to that channel, please go to the channel, support us by making comments, sharing it, liking the page, liking the videos that we have there, and that will, of course, increase the algorithm so more people can watch this stuff. We're constantly uploading stuff on there. So feel free to join in with me on some kirtan. Thank you very much. Krishna Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestayate Namo Sela Swarupananda Rama Bhagavad Shri Hare Hare. Srivasadeva Bhakta Vinda. Hare Bol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur. Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur. Hare Bol, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Bol, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Namaste.